Hola, and welcome to today's tip. We are going to use a random number generator, select a random page inside maintenance and reliability best practices by none other than Ramesh Gulati, the third edition. And based on whatever page we land on, we are going to give you a practical tip to take home today, free of charge. All right, so let's go to our random number generator and see what number is our lucky number today. Choose your favorite, follow along with your version of the book, and our number is 454. So let's remove that choice. Let's go back to our recording that I didn't pop up. Mother fudger. Well, sometimes it goes that way. Trust me, it was page 454. So we're going to go to page 454 and give you a random tip. Oh, that doesn't make me happy. Page 454. Usually you want things to go smooth, but you know what? When you do it live, not really live, but when you realize that sometimes you make mistakes and you just got to persevere. That's a good tip for today, but let's see what's on page 454. 454 talks about skills development training. Training should be viewed as an investment. Yep. Okay, let's talk about training. I think we did a previous tip where we talked about going to HR to make sure you get funding for training. In this particular area, we're talking about skills training, and let's talk about the skills gap and how we assess for that. It's a great idea to have a gap analysis against your skills, but oftentimes people use some generic entity. They hire some consulting company that may or may not know what they're doing. And they come in and they assess skills based on basic understanding type of skills. So hydraulics, pneumatics, that type of stuff. And they'll tell you you're good at something or not so good at something and tell you to go get training. But it kind of ends there. The order and sequence of events that this should take place first is to identify your assets and what the business is. Understand your organization. The reason that's so critical, so I've got a previous client, we have a previous client who is a manufacturing plant and they only hire machinists. And I can't understand for the life of me why their standard for hiring people off the street is that they have finished their apprenticeship as a machinist when they don't require that skill anywhere inside the plant. And so it's a complete mismatch. I think somebody in HR at some point in the company thought it would be a great idea to get people that are licensed and out of an apprenticeship school. Maybe they were located near that apprenticeship school. I don't know why. But the skill set doesn't match the need of the plant, and that's not a good thing. So you should start with understanding your assets in the business and understand what type of skills are necessary to take care of those assets and ensure that they are available for use by operations so that you can get the value from the assets. So step one is document your assets and the skills necessary to take care of those assets. List out those skills, and those skills can be not just understanding that type of asset, but are you capable of executing the PM? Do you know how to troubleshoot the asset down to component level? Like, what are the various things that you have to do for that asset from a skill perspective? You then have to identify what training closes the gap for that specific skill. So perhaps it's specific training by the OEM, the manufacturer of that piece of equipment. Perhaps it's a technical skills training that's offered either at a local community college or through some other organization. However, you have to identify, and oftentimes this is where the process falls apart, you have to identify what training closes that gap. It can't just be we need these skills and that's the end of it. Once we do the gap analysis to our technical skill sets down to our people, we have to be able to develop a plan for them to go close the gap on those skills. And so we have to know what training closes that gap. So Understand your assets, understand your business, figure out what skills are necessary for those to be aligned. Do the gap analysis of your employees against those skills, but make sure that you have already identified what training is necessary to close those gaps so that you can put together development plans and develop a budget line item to help each individual close specific gaps for next year. That's today's tip. Go invest in training because the skills are necessary.